We decided today to do the enterprise zones because Oakland has one of the more successful ones. And I think that in the national and the statewide coverage we've noticed is that you guys aren't talking about it, and maybe it's because you're not quite as aware of it. It's also something that will disproportionately, and therefore probably is more endangered even than the redevelopment zone, it disproportionately serves really poor communities. So valley communities that are in recession, big urban cities with high levels of poverty have enterprise zones at a higher rate. And so, I'm sorry, I left my press release. You want to give me the briefing page? So what we've tried to do is to pull together some people to help you get a human face for what this program is. And it's something a lot of the rest of the media has not been covering. So this relatively in the media world, maybe something that I've been following the LA Times, et cetera, and there hasn't been a lot of coverage, but it will have a fairly big impact on Oakland. And so just in general, you know, we've given you the release. You know that we have nearly, at this point, over 4,000 jobs in the enterprise zone. I remember during the campaign, Mr. Hartland kept on saying, oh, we're not using the program at all, and we only had a few hundred, but he was absolutely wrong. We have thousands of people, and we made a particular point to extend the enterprise zone to help Berkeley out, our sister city and nearby neighbor, when they were trying to retain Bear. And I think that's probably the last time that enterprise zones got much publicity or much media coverage in the Bay Area. So what I wanted to do is, I want to thank, first of all, President Reed for joining us. But what I'd like to do is, we have some employers and we have some staff members who have been running the program. I have the ILW, are they here? They're not here. We wanted to also have some of the unions that have people in these areas speak, but I guess they're not here. So what I'd like to do is to start with Gregory Hunter for him to give you a little overview, and then they're going to talk a little bit about the overall stats. One of the points I wanted to make is that clearly our stats for our economic development zone show that it's been fairly effective, that we have a lower unemployment rate, we have many more people working, that the household income has risen since the enterprise zone has been established, and we think there's some tie there, and that despite that, East Oakland particularly is very poor, and it will be even more difficult for them without this kind of program. It has played a critical role in, for us, we think, both to retain some companies and to grow others, and we're growing them at both levels, new companies that give something back, but also established companies like UPS that uses it extensively. And about 50% of the jobs are actually in pretty small companies, under 25 employees. And then, you know, a lot of the growth is in small companies. A lot of the revitalization along our commercial core of retailers and even small high-tech businesses, the companies are actually pretty small. And so that's why it's particularly really important, because sometimes whether or not you can get this tax credit, it really determines whether or not you can keep your doors open. So I've talked to a couple of small retailers in Oakland, and I didn't know until the day that actually the list is confidential, but there are some companies that have come forward, so I won't mention who they are today, but I'll have to go back and make sure I get their permission. But a couple of smaller companies, retailers in Oakland, who said, you know, if they didn't get the tax credits, they couldn't operate their business, that we might put them under in this recession. And so that's what we're trying to do today, just give you an idea of what an enterprise zone is, what it looks like in Oakland, and the kind of people and the kind of businesses that will be affected if it goes away. So I'm going to start with Gregory.
Overall, the enterprise zone since 2007 has been able to hire more than 9,000 Oakland residents into make them employable and bring them into employment, and 9,000 jobs that may have gone to residents of other jurisdictions. So we think it's a valuable resource for our residents to help a city that has an unemployment rate at 16, roughly bouncing around 16%, have those residents actually find employment. The businesses that we are able to attract and retain find it invaluable Many of them look at it strictly from a financial perspective, that they're able to cut their bottom line by the use of the enterprise zone tax credit. To that end, more than 2,000 businesses, 2,050 businesses have accessed the hiring tax credit vouchers since 2009, since we were redesignated by the state of California as an enterprise zone. Additionally, and I'll turn things over to Susanna, who has who actually coordinates the program and has a much more tight grasp of what happens on a day-to-day basis with the businesses and the process. But since 2009, in addition to the 2,050 companies that have used the hiring tax credits, we have also removed the barriers for hiring, and we have been able to use that to attract some key businesses. The one Toyota probably would not have located or been able to locate in Oakland, moving a dealership to California. They have an existing dealership in Arizona. They were looking to open another dealership somewhere in the western states, and would probably have not come to California had it not been for the enterprise zone. So that business hired close to 100 employees,
Yeah.
and we worked with them on additional incentives like facade and tenant improvement. But the primary incentive that we used was the enterprise zone.
My name is Susana Villarreal. I'm the Oakland Enterprise Zone Coordinator. I've had this position for 16 years. One of the best jobs I ever landed, to tell businesses that they had something in store from them. And as I began doing the marketing many years ago, they couldn't believe that we had something to offer. So this is one of our strongest economic tools combined with redevelopment. And it's no secret that redevelopment and enterprise zones are overlapping 100%. Because they do add value to the attraction retention of businesses here. So for companies, the tax credits are worth, probably for a small company, any state tax liability that they can avoid is something precious, because small companies come in and they really need help. So with one employee, it's a 5-year tax credit that could be worth up to $37,000 over 5 years. So as an example, for the first year of employment, 50% of their wages are credited towards this incredible tax credit. Of course, California has one of the most lucrative programs in the country. However, we are one of the states that costs so much to do business in. And we've been going through a lot of changes, but that 5-year hiring tax credit is excellent. So basically, the company can take that tax credit, avoid paying liability, over $800 a month, keep the money in the company to grow it, add employees, and have the knowledge that they'll be getting the tax credit so that they can keep adding employees or machinery. And case in point, you'll be able to hear a testimony from Nick Rago, a small employer in our neighborhoods, and he'll tell you what he did when he started the program. Often many companies don't know about it, or if they do, we catch them up to it, and then they become lifelong users in the zone. It's a designation that's lasting us till 2023. I've been working with a lot of companies in Oakland, but we really target the small business owners. They're the ones that hire more people, local people, and they really need this program. We also partner to help the small businesses get qualified employees through our workforce system and identify other incentives for them. Often they don't know about federal, state tax credits or incentives, and they're too busy to take care of it and do it. So Oakland has introduced an online system to help small businesses take the credit by themselves and really be able to utilize it.
Our business is in Oakland on 51st Avenue, and we've been there since 1947. So we did not relocate into Oakland because of the enterprise zone, but it has certainly been a factor in our remaining in Oakland. Prior to the time when we found out about the enterprise zone, our expansion was steady, but it wasn't extreme. And once we found out about the enterprise zone, the credits, the amount of money we were able to save, the expansion became significant. And each year, our business continues to grow. We're we're at a disadvantage because we are located on the West Coast. And outside of being tough to do business with in California, our customers are mainly out of state. We do not have a lot of customers that are in California. I have one major customer, but the majority of our products are shipped to Texas, to Ohio, Canada, and the enterprise zones have allowed us to remain competitive. Without the credits, we wouldn't have the money that is needed to reinvest. And if you can just historically look at what we've reinvested in equipment to stay on top of technology, it would go hand in hand with the credits that we receive from the enterprise zone. And I can't even imagine, without that, it would be a severe disruption. But it's like an extra incentive, and it's just been very, very helpful.
We're a commercial business-to-business office supply company. Our biggest competitors are Staples and Office Depot. We're the fourth largest in California. So we started in Oakland in 1991, but we stayed in Oakland. We bought our headquarters building over near the Oakland Coliseum area 5 years ago, and the determining factor was the fact that it was in an enterprise zone. So we had a choice of moving to Emeryville or Alameda, which were very aggressive in pursuing us as a successful long-time business, but we stayed in Oakland because we didn't want to lose the access to the incentives that are available if you're able to source productive employees from the enterprise zone. So we use the enterprise zone incentives to attract employees that ultimately, in order to stay with us, have to be as productive and efficient as the employees of our competitors, because we're in the customer service business. So if we can't offer the lowest price and the quality of service that business customers need, then we can't keep employees that can't provide that. So first of all, the enterprise zone incentives do not cause us to go after employees that can't rise to the level of productivity of any other employee. So we have hired probably 30 or 40, maybe more. Susanna probably can, over the years. Right. And I think the interesting thing about the incentives that are available, if you can find employees that meet your criteria from the enterprise zone, is that it sometimes can bend the risk curve in making a hiring decision prior to making it if those incentives were not available. And that's certainly what we do. So every business that seeks to expand has got to invest capital, human resource capital, and financial capital in expansion. If you can bend the risk curve by looking forward to some kind of an incentives that lower your training costs for employees, we have oftentimes hired people way in advance of when we would otherwise have hired them. Well, as a matter of fact, we would hire 4 right now if we could find some assurance that they would be eligible for enterprise zone credits, because we're ready to expand, but expanding is risky, and if you can subsidize that risk a little bit by getting some additional training resources to bring people along quicker, then that makes all the difference in the world. So I don't see this as just any kind of subsidy. It actually is an incentive to hire more quickly, more people, based on your growth business plans. And it's only one of the incentives that we avail ourselves of. So we hired 5 or 6 people when the stimulus program was available. Those people are still with us, productive and now fully trained. We use the work opportunity credits. We actually go deeply into the workforce investment community, to the job development programs within the enterprise zones to source people that have the skills to be able to be trained into productive employees. So we'll go to the PIC, we'll go to Youth Employment Partnership, we'll go to Youth Uprising, we'll go to the Port of Oakland employment outplacement centers to find employees who need jobs, who represent the enterprise zone credits, and we consider that at the point of intake. So when you fill out an application, we gather the data that would qualify people, and when we make hiring decisions, that can be the determining factor.